Greetings YouTube, 'tis I, Jed, here with a very special Let's Play video for you. So this is Exemplar. It's an RPG Maker MV game, and I made it. So it's in an incomplete state at the moment, but basically I'm wanting to sort of show off, you know, what's been done, what's in it, how far it's come, and I'm going to try and do so without, like, talking about how awesome it is. Mainly because I'm not entirely certain I think it's awesome. I'm very down on my own work. Yeah, so this is going to be an interesting one. I'm doing this for a few reasons, mainly because a couple of people I know, you know, shout out to Matt and Katie, can't actually play the game because for some reason the Mac export won't work for them, which is annoying because it's worked for other people. So yeah, here we go into new game. The game you're about to play is in a work in progress state. Many of the art assets are yet to be finalised, and there are still gameplay tweaks to be made as well. So a bit of scrolling text to start us off with. First there was 1, and the 1 begat 2. The 2 begat 13, and the 13 begat 13, and the 13 begat 13 again, over and over, until the world screamed, and the blood boiled, and all upon the surface of the planet did fester and die. And when the 13 saw what they had begat, they wept, and the tears begat 13 more. The lay of the 13. Nice little bit of lore to introduce you to the world of Varna. It began long ago on a field covered in the bodies of the dead. It was the end of the Age of Heroes. Okay. Move, use the arrow keys. To interact, use the enter or spacebar key. Press escape to use your inventory and go back. So yeah, it's all fairly standard RPG Maker fare in terms of the controls. Custom art assets and custom music for the most part. Some bits, such as this pillar here, and the save point here, are still the inbuilt runtime program, but I'm hoping they don't stand out too badly until I get around to actually replacing them. So, save now, yes, file 1. So, I've already got some saves from previous playtests, so let's get started and talk to this guy, because he's in red, so it's got to be important, right? Sir Percival, what's happening? A host of enemies is on Calenhat Field. Many of our soldiers have already been laid low. I see. Stay here. I will meet the foe head on. Yes, my liege. Our soldiers are scattered in the field to the east of us. Wait, look out! Lay these bastards low. Select the attack command to use a single attack. Yeah, there's a combat tutorial. So we are currently playing as Percival Pellinor, a Knight of the Order, and yeah, so we don't know much about the Order or indeed the Knights, but Percival is sort of our, in the grand tradition of like RPG games in general, he's kind of like the tutorial character that we play as to sort of teach you how to do stuff and show you what you're going to be like when you're more leveled up and badass and stuff. Don't worry, I'm not making you play the first generic beardy dude that I can think of for the entire game. Try using one of your special attacks. I would, except I don't think that I've got any of them available yet. Ooh, so I can't do that, but I can guard. So there's a few little details you can already sort of pick out from, you know, the way these guys are designed. So for example, Percival here's got a little sort of rose symbol on his tunic, which is kind of like the symbol of knighthood that I designed. It's very simple to create with pixel art. Whereas these guys, the cultists, have little T shape, which is sort of like their personal symbol. So stuff like that, it's like, you know, you have to have these really basic ways of telling apart. These are the ones on this side, and these are the ones on this side. Some people can do really like in-depth designs. I can't. Well fought. Here, you may need these. Excuse me. You get 10 potions. Now go, and please remember to help our men when you can. That's totally not what that says, but it's the gist of it. I can read. I have a master's degree in stuff that needs me to be able to read. So yeah, generally speaking, so these are the enemies. And for the Dark Gods! So these guys are set to approach you. So there are random battles in this game, but there are also going to be times when there are enemies that you actually sort of run around and try and hit. Oh dear. As I said, Percival's not the character that you play for the majority of the game. He's sort of like he's a character that you play for this segment to sort of show you all the cool stuff that you'll get to do in the future. Isn't that exciting? But right now he's sort of just he's a sort of tutorial guide to show you the lay of the land, so to speak. And he has a few cool abilities, you know, a few nice hitting people abilities, which, you know, are sort of unique to this particular combination of these abilities is unique to him. So there aren't any characters apart from him who can do things like dual attack and special captain in the same class. So, you know, he's a bit more special. And of course he's got heroic determination as well, which can heal him when he's in a bit of a bind. Because he's a tutorial character, he's meant to be much more powerful than any of the characters that you start with properly. So, dodge this guy. Also some people to interact with, because half the fun of an RPG Maker game is creating people to interact with. Carry on to the southeast, there is a gap in the old wall that leads further on. So that's telling me to go southeast, which is this way. So that's a random encounter. Unfortunately, you can escape from those. So there's also these guys. There's too many! Yes, possibly. And, oh, this guy. Another random encounter. And what I was sort of trying to do was demonstrate that this is a battlefield that, you know, there's lots going on without there being too much going on for you to really take it in, if that makes sense. I'm going to just avoid these random battles. I might take you on. For the Dark Gods! So here we have a Dark Mage, whose entire shtick is basically that he can do magic spells, and he's actually really good at them, if you don't kill him first. So he's got a wide variety of spells at his disposal, so it's usually a good idea to take them out first. Fortunately, at the level that Percival's at, taking them out in one hit's relatively straightforward, not like with the cultist warriors. It's currently a very standard turn-based system, which, you know, I'm not dissing standard turn-based systems, but, you know, a lot of the RPG Maker community aren't fond of the standard turn-based system that that the software comes with, because they feel it's a bit too overdone. Unfortunately, I am an idiot and so cannot code in anything better, even using plugins. There are plugins like installed. So, for example, the way that this is all running out is actually something of a plugin compared to the, you know, traditional RPG Maker MP. But some people consider that the turn-based thing is a bit passé. I don't. I kind of like the turn-based combat. I feel it's a bit it's exciting in its way that you have to strategize and plan out your attacks. Percival was victorious, gaining a lot of XP that's completely useless to him. I'll be fine, sir. So yeah, this is another thing. Oh, let's get her. So this is, greetings, Sir Knight. I need your help, my lady. I feared it would be so. Very well. Lead on, Sir Knight, and I will follow. So she's a sort of temporary party member who's here to help you out. For the Dark Gods! So, yeah, she's just called the healer, because I'm boring like that. So, what she can do is she's got a few bits of magic that are primarily here to sort of help out her party members. In this instance, she can lesser heal, which is always useful for when your characters are hurt. But what she can also do, which I think is really useful, is Smite Foe, which is a sort of... It does very little damage, but it does have a good line in lowering the enemy's defense, which is good for characters to do more damage to them. One thing that I've tried very hard to do is make it so that while you can, strictly speaking, just mash the enter key to do a series of attacks and be moderately successful, I'm trying my very best with the system to make it so that that's not the optimum solution, and that it's actually much better for you to strategize and use more of your tactics. We've lost a lot of ground, Percival. Are you able to continue? I think so. Just realised I have matching scars. So this, if we just quickly go into the menu, is Tristram. So he's another character that we're sort of, we're getting him in just for the duration of this tutorial mission. But pay attention to him because he's sort of important in a way. We meet members of his family later. My lord, we need more soldiers for the last push. We'll free some up. Save 5 soldiers. So, yeah. Oh. No, I want to escape from this random battle, thank you. So, for the Dark Gods! I really should come up with something more imaginative. So here we have a cultist captain who... He's a bit of a tough cookie. He's a little bit of a stronger opponent than the standard soldiers. So, Tristram as a character should have access to magic and will, but because he's low level, he doesn't actually have access to any of those abilities yet, even though his class does. So that's why those are there. So let's have him strike this guy. You'll also notice that for these battles, we're going to actually be aided by the soldier guy, who is the guy that we're trying to help. So let's smite one of these foes randomly, and then can't do anything with you. So let's also attack this cultist guy and take him out. But yeah, for these missions, I wanted to create a certain level of dynamism. Like, you can actually be helped in battle by, you know, random soldier dudes when you're fighting against bad guys. No! Thank you, sir. We've saved 1 out of 5 soldiers. We must save more. So yeah, this guy, off he goes. And, for the Dark Gods! So yeah, this is just a little sense of getting the player used to the fact that you're going to have to do stuff like, you know, missions to help people, missions to protect your comrades and stuff. It's worth noting as well that Tristram has these sort of special kinds of attacks. So he has a dazing attack, which is good for like dazing the enemy, which can sort of knock them off center, make them a bit less likely to do anything really. And then you've got the blinding attack, which can obviously blind people. So poor old soldier boy can only use dazing attack at the moment, but it's still a useful thing to do. You sort of throw the enemy off balance. And we smited the magician, so he's not got a higher defense. So now both their defenses are lowered, but they're still on the field. So here we see the mage, you know, demonstrating that he's actually quite dangerous. So if he gets a spark off, he can cause some damage to the whole party, which obviously can be a bit of a pain. So we'll quickly use a potion and then a lesser heal on the healer, ironically. And while we're at it, keep hitting the mage. Oh, down he goes. The party was victorious once again. No! Thank you, sir. We've saved 2 out of 5 soldiers. We must save more. Right, let's go do this thing. For the Dark Gods! So once more we go in and start hitting things. It was really tricky trying to find the balance between being really challenging in these early missions and being too easy and too repetitive. So a lot of the early design of this game was trying to create this sort of sweet spot between let's have a bunch of these, you know, 2- and 3-man bands and let's do something a bit more interesting with it. So here we go. It's a difficult balance trying to sort of figure out what the different point is between like what is fun for the player and what is too difficult for the player at this point. Because obviously this is the opening of the game, so we don't want it to be like ridiculously difficult for the player to play. But at the same time, if it's too easy, then it just becomes a bit of a breeze and you're just hitting the enter key too fast to even think about it. Like, not thinking about it, not paying any attention, blah 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 blah, which you can do to a certain extent. But the hope is that because these characters all have different cool abilities, that you'll be using them a lot. So, thank you, sir. You've saved 4 out of 5 soldiers. We must save more. And then the last soldier boy is down here. For the Dark Gods! So let's go on and kill some guys. As you can see, we can just button mash. But in the case of characters like, for example, the healer, that's not actually an optimum solution. When in actual fact, we can do things like, well, maybe not that, but for example, Percival can do that. Tristram can use that. The mage can do some special damage, and oh wow, the soldier boy has a lot of TP going on. An interesting thing is that some people don't like TP in RPG Maker games. They don't think that it's a good system to have. But I actually like the fact that I can combine, attacks that need will points and attacks that need tension points. Because obviously, if you've got an attack that needs a certain level of tension points, you have to think about, okay, do I have enough tension points for this attack? How do I do that? There are certain abilities that give the entire party tension points that certain characters can have, that you'll hopefully see in a later video. And then, yeah, it's all about that sweet TP, WP balancing act. Because obviously, you know, thank you, sir. This was the last soldier, hurry to the last push. And there he is, and there he seems to be staying. So yeah, and then you run up to these guys. The final push is south of here, my lord. Head straight down from here. So, yep, there we go. Head straight down from here we have. Ready, sir. Ready, sir. Ready, sir. Ready, sir. And then out of his way, and off he goes. Yeah, and ordinarily we can like fight these guys, get a bit more combat experience, but it's not really, strictly speaking, necessary. Which, to be honest, does render these guys kind of useless, so I might make it that they approach the player quite fast in a sort of future build. But in the meantime, that's... Yes, I know. You go. I'll take them. May the 13 save you. And then off they go, leaving me alone with the Dark Exemplar. So the entire point of Exemplar is that there are knights who embody virtues, there are Exemplars who embody all the virtues, and then there are these guys, Dark Exemplars, who are like perverted, twisted versions of what an Exemplar is supposed to be. So, you stand in the presence of the Dark Exemplar, but you are the Knight of Courage. Fear is not your master. Save now? Yes. I think I will. So obviously there's a load of bodies, you know, it's quite a mess, lots of people are dead, and here is the big guy. So, it's nice to see you again. Dot dot dot. Nothing. No mocking words. No banter. Dot dot dot. This is probably going to be our last fight. Give me something to remember you by at least. Dot dot dot. Surrender, or you will die here. I've stood firm against evil for my entire life. What in the hells makes you think I'm going to give in to you? Dot dot. I'm at a few words, the Dark Exemplar, at this point. Let's get on with this, you bastard! And as you can see, boss music! So, the music is the one thing that I'm like super proud of amongst all the various things that I'm proud of in this game. Because I've had to create custom music for literally everything, so that's tons of fun. So right away, he's hitting us with an attack, missing, and we are gonna hit back with a dual attack. Ooh, nice. So this was one of the most difficult fights to actually balance out, because it's like, you know... So spoiler warning, because I don't know if I'm going to win this one or not. Spoiler warning, you are able to lose this fight and it doesn't really affect the story. Because the entire point of this fight is that either way, both of these guys killed the other. So early on it was impossible to beat him, like impossible to beat this guy, you know, no matter what. It's one of the reasons that the heroic determination skill even exists, is so that even if you run out of potions, you've got this ability to heal a good chunk of your health back. But like I was messing with the Dark Exemplar's stats an awful lot to sort of get this sense of, you know, what does he do, what can he do? So yeah, let's keep guarding, build up our TP a little bit. See, this is the delicate balancing act of the TP system, and it's one of the reasons that I personally quite like it, is that you can do this sort of, you know, balancing act of, okay, ready, hit him with the best shot. So here's Strike of the Captain, which is good for knocking down stuff like attack, defense, etc. So let's knock down quite a few of his stats. And then we can hit him with a dual attack, which will hopefully be a bit more damaging. This is what I mean by saying that you can... I could, for example, just keep hitting the enter key and just pressing attack. But because I'm using my tactics, it's actually going a bit better for me than if I did that. I would probably die much more quickly. You cannot stop what is to come. Go to hell! Oh, I just missed. That was depressing. Yeah, for certain boss battles, of course, there's obviously little dialogues that are splashed in here and there. Smack! But yeah, no, early on it was impossible to beat this guy for love nor money, like it was absolutely impossible, which obviously is a very frustrating experience for a player. You know, you want to be able to defeat the Dark Exemplar, you want to be able to, you know, prove that. At the same time, you don't want a Devil May Cry 5 situation where, oh, I've defeated the Dark Exemplar and so now the entire game is over. So that obviously, it's a bit railroady in that sense. For Kara, for Lionel, for Geraint, they were all brave, but they still fell. So yeah. Of course, it's very difficult with a character like this Dark Exemplar, you know, to do the thing of, okay, is he dangerous? Is he not dangerous? What is he exactly? You know, is he, at what level is this is him being intimidating? What level of this is him being, you know, first boss? So, you'll notice, by the way, in the art style that the Dark Exemplar obviously has the same sort of outfit that Percival has, almost exactly the same outfit, actually, because he was designed that way, except that obviously he's still got that little T symbol on his chest. So from a design element, you want to sort of draw these parallels between these characters. That, you know, this is this character, and this is what they represent. So I sort of lost track of poor old Percy's health a bit. So I'm gonna use a few bouts of heroic determination while I still can. I think I can probably win this, unless he gets some really lucky hits in. I think, yeah, now is the time to strike at the captain. Knock his stats right now. Hey, I did it! Percival was victorious. Got you, you bastard. This means nothing. You cannot stop what is to come. Smack, and dot dot dot, smack, 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 and shaky, and... It was the end of the Age of Heroes. A time of great deeds and noble warriors had passed into myths and legends. It has been many years since that fateful battle, when Percival Pellinore laid low the last Dark Exemplar. In that time, evil has risen again. Can good rise to meet it, or will those destined to live in these troubled times fail? ... I suppose the real question is, do you believe in heroes? That's really the big question of this game, but I'll explain more about that in the next video. Well, do you, Evie? Evie? Evie! Tora? Hey, sis, you daydreaming again? Yeah. Ha! No sweat, sis. Let's go to Dad's. I think he had some stuff for us to do. And here we go. So yeah, here is the proper main character of Exemplar, Evelyn Paladin and her sister Tora, who are like, for the vast majority of the game, like so far, these guys have been like the main characters. So it's only like now that we're getting into like new countries that we're developing beyond them. But yeah, so these guys are going to be our chief characters for the moment. And this is the lovely little village of Ector where they live. So I'm going to save up here. Ector Village, where everyone knows you, you know them, and nothing ever changes. Is this all that there is? Save now. Yes. And here we go. So yeah, I'm going to leave this video here and pick this up in the next one. So thank you everybody so much for watching, and keep an eye out for more content coming very soon. In the meantime, bye YouTube. Live long and prosper.